Right. And, John Fox, like, there's Josh McDaniels isn't there anymore. John Elway's there. Like, Tim Tebow's not their guy. Okay, but I don't understand, like, why don't Broncos come out and just squash it, kind of, or even, like, just make Tim Tebow kind of not a story. But I know it's only going to take football games and, and the season actually start playing out. But, I mean...
No, that's a great point, and that's one thing that frustrates me. I don't get the impression that the organization is trying to help him at all against this media avalanche. I mean, I don't see anybody from the organization coming out on the record and saying anything good about Tebow or supporting him, which is almost the norm. So then again, and that leads me, why? I mean, why not?
Then again, you got to think of it. It's what the media twisted. The Broncos could come out and say, whatever. And they're just going to spin it a certain way. But
they could make an official statement or something like that. But anyway, it looks like it's obvious to me the new regime, if you will, is certainly not behind Tebow. But and that's part of it. That's part of the NFL, and that happens. But anyway, let's start to take some calls. We got let's go to the first one that was been. Is this Rick? Yeah, Rick. Thanks for joining us on Talking Old School.
Thank you, Roger. Very great topic too. And Dave and Brian have some great points, and I really think. I hadn't really thought about that. Most quarterbacks need a few years to develop, and even someone as phenomenal as Tebow. But I'm like you. I'm sick. I'm not sure if Dave and Brian have read or heard some of the things that are being said out there, like that idiot Michael Silver out there saying, "Oh, he may be the fourth best quarterback on the roster." It's outrageous.
Yeah, and that Silver, that once again, I have to put the disclaimer, I consume way too much media, but I mean, I had several people send that to me, and that's what I would classify. Dave and Brian brought up some excellent points, which is part of it is just the fact, and I was aware of this and was speaking out against it off the air before I had ever heard of Tim Tebow, before Tim Tebow was ever born, about how the NFL has this template thinking. There's one way to play quarterback, and that's it. You have to be 6'3".
The spread would never work in the SEC, and then everybody knows about that.
Right. But I mean, the NFL though. I mean, that's just the way the NFL thinks. And Doug Flutie ran up against that, which I was outraged by. And other guys, a lot of other guys run up against it. Wide receivers that maybe run a 5-4-5 instead of a 4-4. I mean, so it's a template. Copycat league, so that's apart from any cultural type bias. However, I do think there's a strong cultural bias here because Tim Tebow is so overt in his faith, and if you read more and learn more about him, he's just a culturally conservative type guy. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, he likes country music. He grew up on a farm. I mean, he's not hip. He doesn't have body art or tattoos. I mean, he's not, he doesn't listen to the right music. I mean, and I think specifically with this Michael Silver, this is a guy it was such a brutal attack, such a false, just a hit piece is what it was.
Right.
Speaking of my perspective as a guy who's been a columnist and a PR person in the past, I mean, I know PR when I see it, and I know a hit piece when I see it. Michael Silver was born and raised in San Francisco, and is a product of University of California at Berkeley. Okay,
that explains everything.
That explains everything. Okay. As far as I'm concerned.
Well, the entire media, particularly the sports media, is controlled by people who aren't exactly people of faith, and anybody doesn't know that the media in general is hostile to that doesn't have both eyes open right now. But the thing about Tim is there's no question, there's a consensus in the sports world that the best conference is the SEC by far and away, right? It stands to reason that the greatest player in that conference, and he didn't just do well like Matthew Stafford or Jay Cutler or Jason Campbell or those guys. He didn't just do well. He dominated the conference. He broke Herschel Walker's rushing record. In the 2008 title game, there's Sam Bradford out there, and Tim, there was no doubt who the best quarterback was on the field that day, and that's the reason the Gators won. And, because both teams had great athletes. Tim just willed the team to victory. Sam Bradford is a phenomenon, starting as a rookie for the Rams, no question about it, And I mean, I don't know what more he has to do. He's proven, if he gets the chance in the NFL, and I have to believe he will. Either way, this team
he'll get his chance.
Yeah, maybe not, but this, it is the new regime. It's like Obama blaming Bush for everything. They don't want to give. It's a new coach in there, and they don't want to give the old guy any credit. And that's part of the problem. I don't know.
Let me touch up on Can I touch upon this bias?
Yeah. And thanks for the call, Rick. We've got to move on here last couple minutes. Before you go, Brian, just 2 quick points. The 2 points he made is, and this is why I'm so passionate. I don't think Tebow gets any credit for what he does, and he gets slammed for things he doesn't do that he's not. He gets unfair criticism, and he doesn't get credit for all the positives. Go ahead, Brian.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I just want to touch upon the bias thing with Tim Tebow and his religion and stuff. Yeah, I'm sure that might sway a couple of people, but you have to understand there's bias in everything. I mean, ESPN just came out with a picture of Michael Vick with a white face. Like what he would look at white, So I mean, there's bias on all of that. But my problem is the lack of consistency and how they pick and choose their battles and their spots. I mean, like we talked about before, the combine. Okay, Mel Kiper and all those guys put so much stock in those numbers, and here comes Tim Tebow. He tests through the roof at the combine. He's one of the best athletic quarterbacks that you've ever seen, and that's thrown out the window.
Right, that's my point.
The combine made Chris Johnson millions of dollars because he ran a 4.3.
Kyle Bowler. Nobody ever heard of Kyle.
80 yards from his knee.
Kyle Bowler. Nobody ever heard of Kyle Bowler. He ran a 4.6 40, and he became the phenom and a number 1 draft choice. And they're supposedly they don't even like running quarterbacks. But a guy runs a 4.6 40. Yeah, you're right. I'm just saying you're exactly right, Brian. I mean, and that coincides with my point. He doesn't get credit for the things that he does. Anyway, let's try to get a couple more calls before we go. Okay. All right. Who's this?
This is Mark.
Okay, Mark. We got a couple minutes.
First of all, I have to say I'm from San Francisco, and I agree with you, Roger Franklin Williams. So I'm not. I recoil a little bit at the sweeping generalization.
Yeah, I don't want to stereotype everybody from San Francisco. Let me put that out there.
And or Berkeley. Just because someone's a liberal doesn't mean they're not a Christian. First of all. Just because someone has a point of view that is different politically than someone else doesn't mean that they can't see a big picture. And I can see a big picture, and I know as a 49er fan that Joe Montana wasn't the normal kind of quarterback either because those short, high percentage passes weren't even part of the game until Bill Walsh got in there.
Exactly. Great point.
And if John Fox would get his head out of his you-know-what, and John Elway as well, they would know that they have something very special right there. They have a winner. He's a proven winner, and that's what you want. You want a winner. You want someone who scores touchdowns, to your point. And frankly, if they do cut him, if they do take Merrill Hodges' advice and cut him, I would love for the San Francisco 49ers to have him on their team because he eventually will get the chance. And to David's point, it's not a bad thing if he sits for a couple of years. Most great quarterbacks do. But if he doesn't get a chance in Denver, he will get a chance somewhere else. It's just obvious, I think, to anyone that has a brain and is thinking clearly and objectively that this guy is special on many, many, many levels.
Great point, Marks. We got to go get that last caller. Thank you. Great point. And the problem is there are not many.
Ladies and gentlemen.
There are not many Bill Walshes out there. I mean, Bill Walsh was an outside the box thinker. He was an anomaly. But anyway, we'll try to get that last call in there. Okay, we don't have a chance. Okay, sorry, guy. Thanks for calling. Call us back tomorrow. Anytime. We'll talk about Tim Tebow anytime. Anyway, Brian, thanks for joining me. It was great to catch up with you. And thank you
great topic. Stick around and listen to the Kevin Sutton Show.
Absolutely. Thank you for your insights. Appreciate it.
Yep.
And callers, thank you for your insights. Dave, thank you for your insights and for your help. About how much time we have here? Just a few seconds.
Yeah, just about a minute.
Okay, guys, I want to thank you for joining us. And once again, it's always great to catch up with you on Talking Old School every Saturday at 11. I also want to point out that Johnny Perez of Cinematic Solutions is videotaping our segment today, and portions of this segment will go up on the Tebow Truth channel. Check out youtube.com/Tebow Truth. Also encourage you to check out the Gator Gridiron blog. Just Google Gator Gridiron with Roger Franklin Williams. Anyway, guys, great to be here with you. Stay on board with Kevin Sutton. We'll be back on more Talking Old School next Saturday at 11. Hard work, teamwork, respect for the game, old school.